Well, good evening, everybody out there. How are you doing? Good evening, Ben. Thank you for showing up first. I appreciate that, sir, very much. Um, Whether you're watching this live or you're going to watch this on the rerun, I want to let you know I do appreciate you taking the time to do so. Time is valuable, and spending your time here with us here on this channel on a Sunday evening, Sunday at Mike's, is really appreciated very much. How are you guys doing? Ben, how you doing? I'm glad to see you here, sir. Um, where to start? Well, let's start with a couple of things that came in this week. Let me look at here and see my framing. Oh, framing is good. Where should I start? Well, let's start with these. So my pickups came in that I've been talking about. These are the 1989 Fujigen single coil pickups, and that I bought. And the guy packed them really super nice. If you guys ever want to pack pickups, take notes on how this guy did it. And this was wrapped also in cardboard around the three pickups, and that was in a plastic bubble wrap in a box. So really well done. But this is one of them. Which one is this one? He labeled them too. This is the bridge pickup with an ohm rating of 4.42K according to him. Hey, Ford Hammy, Denro, greetings to you too. Hope all things are well out there in Athens, Georgia. Phil Rodriguez, welcome, sir. Greetings, everybody showing up. So this is the bridge pickup to that set of 89 Alnico 5 pickups. So these will be going into my parts caster. Really excited about these. As you know, I'm a real big fan of Japanese pickups, especially from that period of time, the late 80s, early 90s. And the guy has kept these immaculate. I mean, this looks as new as the day it came out of the factory. And like I said, he even took the time to do ratings on them, and also to identify and label each one as to where it goes. So kudos to the seller on these. So those will be going into my parts caster coming up here. And I'll be sharing, of course, that with you and how that works out. What else? Where else are we going to go from here? Guys, if you're not aware, we had a time change here in this parts of the world. Where time went back an hour. So this is actually my midnight. I'm getting close to this is my midnight. Last week this was midnight. So I'm going to see how I do here. Until I start to adjust to this winter time change. I will see how we do. I got a lot to talk about. Got a lot of topics. Much to talk about. We'll see if I can hang in there. What else came in this week? So I also had a kind of a revelation, a little bit. As you know, for a while now, I have been really contemplating buying a second amp, a modeling amp, I thought to myself. For my living room space in there, where I do some of the filming for my regular channel videos. That was not to replace the Laney, but to complement it. As you know, I have a Laney 1x12 with a 72 GH12 greenback in it. G12, yeah, G12M greenback in it. And I also have here next to me my ampless pedal board rig that I put together strictly for recording. I was using it actually to finish the album that I just released. Asanoki is the band, albums Ants in the Pantry. And I used it to complete that, finish that album. I used the ampless rig on Mr. Sun, the tracks Mr. Sun, Sweet Green-Eyed Girl, and If We Were Made for Each Other. So it served its purpose, and it proved that you can get a great tone out of an ampless rig if you know how to put together right. Again, it's just kind of looking at an amp and following that through and determining what the tone is you want. And then you can add a little bit of spice to that from there. I myself, again, like I said recently, Sandbase, welcome from Cleveland, Ohio. I've started to change things here. I've also alluded to the fact that I'm in the process of improving the channel, doing things in the regular shows that I put together, content that I put together here, and also just for myself, if I want to practice with an amped sound, I can't use a Laney because it doesn't have a headphone out. And I'd have to come in here and use this pedal board to do that. And I like sitting in that room in the evenings, you know, sitting on my milk bench. I bought an old milk bench from the 1920s, and that you've seen that in my regular channel programs. That bench is what I sit on when I play guitar. It's just really just a relaxing kind of vibe right there in that corner, and the acoustics are really good too. So that's the reason I have my amp there as well. But so not to replace that Laney, but to complement it. And I recently was doing a deal with a local shop here. And I saw on their website before I went down there, I was just doing a little research, see if they had anything interesting down there since I was going down there anyway that might be of a use to my ends. And I did find something. I saw that he had a Fender Champion 40 amp. Now, the Fender Champion 40 amp has been out for about 10 years now, so it's not something new. It's not something that's unknown out there. It's not a brand new shiny thing. But it has a couple of things going for it that made me take a serious look at it. And the first thing was the fact that because it's a 1x12 combo amp, that checks a checkbox that I had, because as you know, I like 1x12s. Next thing was it does have a headphone out on it, so it's something that I can sit there and I can plug in my headphones and I can just jam away without disturbing anybody, the neighbors, and anybody at any time of the day or night that I want to. So that was a good check. The other thing is it's a Fender amp. As you know, my pedal board here is based on a Fender amp, and that's something, you know, I like the sound of humbuckers through a Fender amp. I like, now that I'm getting into it, the sound of single coils, and obviously in a Fender amp. So yeah, it checked that it was that. Again, it's not something to replace the Laney, because the Laney is a tube amp. I was looking for something to be a Fender tone. I wanted a clean tone out there for another check on that list. When I'm doing demos of guitars, I've always used the Laney to play out. And I really would, the Laney's got a great clean tone to it. It's one of the things that I really like about that. Mickey, welcome, sir. Hey, how you doing? I hope you're doing well. Welcome to the party. But it really was something, again, just, it checked a lot of boxes. It checked a lot of boxes. So I go down to this guy's shop, and this is a mom and pop shop. This is not your superstore, okay? And we're going to talk about that later on in the show. This is a mom and pop shop. And the guy, it looks like a hurricane blew through it. Don Juan, welcome. Welcome to you. Thank you for coming. I mean, stuff is just everywhere. I mean, there's an acoustic guitar laying on the floor here. There's some hanging on the walls. The good stuff was on the walls, I noticed. At least he had enough in him to know, not just to have his 65, what do you 335 he had, just sitting on the floor, but it was just a pile of stuff with no real order to it, just gear, just piles of gear. And I said, yeah, we talked about our business and we conclude that. And I said, there's another thing I want to do if you're interested. I was wondering if you'd be willing to do a trade on that Fender Champion 40 that you have. And he said, do I have a Champion 40? And I said, well, yeah. I looked around and I said, it's probably likely it's here somewhere, I thought to myself. But I said, yeah. I said, tell you what, while you check to see if it's already gone, I'll start to dig through here. And when I mean dig through, guys, I'm not kidding. I had a suspicion there was a middle island area that was just a pile of stuff. Something, drew me over there. I moved a couple of acoustic guitars out of the way and put them in another part of the shop. And then I picked up a Marshall amp, a combo amp, and moved that to the side. And then I lifted up literally a pile of guitar soft bags like this, but it was just all flopped over. I lifted those up, put those up, and voila, right there, buried beneath all that stuff, was the Fender the Champion 40 that I went looking for. And I think maybe it was a demo model or something like that, because it's brand new in condition. It's absolutely, brand new, brand spanking new. So I said, okay, this looks good. And so what I did was I traded him 3 pedals for it. As you know, on this channel, I always preach that something comes in, something's got to go out. If you can trade for something that you want, that you need, that'll check all those boxes of whatever it is that you have in your head, then all the better to you. You're in the zone of I'm good, or you're using what you got in order to try to take a step up. If you take a few pedals, good ones, you cobble them together, you got yourself a good trade in there, a good trade-in value. And so that's what I did. And so you're wondering, well, what pedals did I trade? Well, the Fender Champion 40 kind of makes my ampless pedal rig redundant, to be honest with you, because you can record with that, you can rehearse with it, you can play small room gigs with it with the right speaker. We'll get to that in a minute. It checks a lot of boxes. And so I no longer needed the Fender pedal that I had. You guys know that I've had that for a while. Both the Fender, the frequency pedal. Frederick Rogers, welcome. Thank you for showing up. It's nice to see you again. Thank you, guys. It's really great to see you. I traded that Fender pedal. I traded the Cab Zeus. I've had that Cab Zeus for years, and I just said it's time to let it go, because it had served its purpose, and I decided that I was going to convert my pedal rig back to just a regular pedal rig to put in front of an amp. In this case, it would be the Champion, the Fender Champion 40. So I'm rejigging this. So I no longer needed the Cab Zeus. So those 2 pedals went. The third pedal went, as I said, was the Fender. I guess it would be their version of a frequency pedal. I don't even know how you would describe that thing. It did a lot of things. It mimicked the input of an amp, and it was a great pedal. But again, with a Fender amp, again, redundant. I didn't need it. So, and he accepted the deal. Maddie, welcome, sir. Hey, everybody's here now tonight. Now I feel good. What am I looking at here? 11 folks. Oh, yeah, everybody's here tonight. Dr. Powell, good evening. I'm so glad that you guys showed up. I am recounting my tale of my new amp. Now, I know I said I would get a new amp like a hole in my head unless I was looking for a model, so I was kind of hedging there. But yes, I did buy it. I did not buy. I traded those 3 pedals in for the Fender Champion 40. So I am now the owner of Fender Champion 40 amp. I have been for 3 days now, and I have been putting it through its paces for 3 days. Now, of course, the night before, I went to his shop and I decided to make that deal. Before any of that, guys, you know me. And it's one of the themes of tonight that, as a matter of fact, it is the title of tonight's theme is Are Guitar Nerds a Dying Breed? I am a guitar nerd. And there's reasons behind that. Got a lot of stuff to cover tonight, so I will get into that as well, what I mean by I am a guitar nerd. Nothing like an amp to push that air. You guys, oh man, you guys just hit all my points. And so I'm going to get into that. So I do want to give you a brief overview of my thoughts briefly on the Champion 40 amp. It's been around, like I said, for 10 years now. So some of you guys, or most of you guys, are aware of it and what it is. It's Fender's solid state amp. It's a solid state amp. And by the way, this is my very first solid state amp. I've never owned all my amps. You can check back. And even before I started the channel, every amp that I've ever had has been a tube amp. It is really an interesting thing for me to have a tube amp and a solid state amp, and I believe me, I was flipping between the Laney and that Fender Champ just to try to see what the difference is in terms of tone with that tube amp and that solid state amp, if there's anything there. Setting the Laney as clean as I could. Now I've got a Fender amp. I've got that Fender Chime. I've got, the Fender sound. I say it's the Fender shimmer. There's a shimmer to the top end that I wasn't getting. I wasn't getting out of that pedal. It was the one thing that was missing. Even putting good reverb on it, I couldn't get that true shimmer. With this amp, it's there in spades. I will say that much about it. So for its channel 1 is copying old school 65 Fender black panel amp, and it's a clean channel, no reverb, nothing on it at all. It's basically there. Oh, guys, it's Uncle Carlton's birthday today. That's what I have in my notes. I was going to get to it in a minute before the second part, but he's here tonight. Guys, say happy birthday to Uncle Carlton here. Today's 83 years young. Happy birthday to you, sir. Happy birthday, Uncle Carlton. Everybody say happy birthday to him. So happy that you are still with us, Uncle Carlton. God bless you, and I love you very much. And thank you for joining in tonight. Dig that. Uncle Carlton here, guys. Yeah, you're on live. We got you, Uncle Carlton. You're here. Everybody's saying happy birthday to you. Don Juan, Phil says happy birthday. Ben says happy birthday. Sunbay says happy birthday. Mickey says happy birthday. Everybody's saying happy birthday to you, sir. With a lot of love and respect. Everybody knows who you are and knows your pedigree. So a lot of respect here. A legend. Mark says happy birthday to you too. So yeah, guys, pile it on to my Uncle Carlton. Made 2 hats. Giving you the love too there, Uncle Carlton. Everybody, just pipe in. Dr. Powell. Oh, good. I'm glad you got that figured out, Uncle Carlton. Join in. I am recounting my tale of my new amp that I got today. Yeah. So the Fender's Champion 40 amp, channel 1 is just a clean channel, and it's based on a black panel 65, and I like it. It has a good sound to it. The second channel, channel 2, is where you get into being able to do some type of modeling in it, where you can switch between different periods of amps on it. No, thank you, Uncle Carlton. Thank you for showing up tonight. Thank you, sir. And happy birthday again to you. You can really replicate a lot of different classic Fender amps with it. They also have some Marshall amps in it, 60s Marshall, 70s and 80s Marshall. It's got that going for it. Now, What it doesn't have going forward is going to lead into the main topic tonight. See, again, one of my long introductions. Sorry about that, guys. It took 20 minutes for me to get to chapter 1. But I'm glad we took the time to do, before we got into all that, Uncle Carlton came in. He was talking about pushing air. That speaker, and I'm sure anybody who's done any research or looked into it, and I was saying that I'm a nerd because I looked into that. I did about an hour's worth of research from about 12:30 at night to about 1:30 in the morning. I was just sitting there reading up on the Champion 40 board before I came up with a game plan on it. Because first of all, they're very inexpensive amps. Brand new, you can get them for $199. And I think they're good value for the money. That's one of the things that about it is they're good value. As a matter of fact, now that I own one and some of the things I'm going to talk about I'm going to do with it, I think they're great value. They got kind of pushed away because folks said, well, that speaker is not very good. And, for some people, it's good enough. And I always told you, if it's good enough, then you're great. As you progress, as you get older, as your ear develops, as you hear other things, then with a 1x12 amp like that, you're in the position where you could quickly make a swap in it, as long as you keep the price of that speaker under $100, maybe $80. Because again, it's only a $200 amp. But something like that could help. Now, for manufacturers, really the formula for $1,000 and under amps has always been more amp, less speaker. And you guys know what I'm talking about. I've had quite a few $300, $400, $500, $600 amps on this channel that have gone through, especially in Singapore. And the one common denominator about all of those amps is that the speakers that they came with were not great. And if you have an educated ear, I haven't, I've had I have a fantastic speaker in my 1x12 right now. That one is the one that I judge all others by. The depth, how it pushes air when you really crank it up, slight breakup, where is it, the breakup point, all those things. And the amps that are sub $1,000, you're going to get a lot on the amp side. And I think with this Fender Champion, you're getting a whole lot of amp side stuff. The effects that it comes with, making my my other pedal, what was that? The MG50 effects pedal that I had here, really making that obsolete as well, so it's not here anymore. That's boxed up over here. That may go in and trade for something else. It just really made it so that all those things that I had in my ampless pedal rig have now squeezed into a 1x12 combo amp that I can use also to do demos and other things with. But again, it's got the curse of that sub $1,000 amp. And everybody says, well, just save your money and get a better amp. Well, until you get into 1,000 and up, to be frank with you, you're going to get HH speakers. You're going to get, in the case of this one, the Fender Special Design speaker that they stick in all of these models, and others, even some no-name ones that I've had come through on some of these sub $1,000 combo amps, and that's just the name of the game. Again, their formula is to give you as much amp as possible, keep the cost down by putting in not the best amp. Now, it's a Fender Special Design, which means that it's a speaker that's designed, because there's modeling different types of Fender amps through the ages, and even a Marshall or two. That amp is that speaker is a everyman speaker. It's neither here nor there. It's going to do the best to push out whatever makes all the settings on that sound best. It's a hit and miss. Even in that, it's a hit and miss. Because it's a cheaper speaker in those sub-thousand ones, um, you're lacking a lot of the depth that you would get with a speaker that has more headroom to it. The speaker doesn't have a lot. It's got enough there, but it doesn't have enough headroom in it for it to break free. And so the first thing that I thought from day one that I brought it home, so I brought it home, sat it down, played it, went through it. And again, like I said, I had studied about it the night before. It was a Fender speaker. I have a Jensen Alnico, a Jensen 12 in a ceramic speaker. It's a 12-inch speaker. It's not the old Jensens for made in America ones, but this is the Italian reissue from 2010 or so. That is going to be put into that. I'm going to do it myself here as soon as I get a minute. I'm going to do a speaker swap because I think that, and again, I don't care what amp you get, always factor in a speaker change when you're talking about those sub $1,000 amps. I'm sorry, 1x12 combos or 2x12 combos, like the Step Up, which is the Champion 50 or Champion 100. No, Champion 50 is 1x12. Well, both of them are 2x12. Something like that. It's a little confusing. They've got a lot of models, but the point of this is that you're going to have to factor it in. And people say, oh my God, why are you going to spend that kind of money into such a cheap amp? Well, even if you spent $400 more and got a better amp, again, like I said, you're going to be back to square one in terms of the speaker. Because again, the formula is more amp, less speaker. And that's just the way it is. Now, most speakers, as was pointed out there, need to push some air to get cooking. And one of the problems with tube amps is that very point, is that in order to really get some tube amps, some amps to sound good and some solid state ones to sound good as well, but mostly tube amps, you really need to push some air. On a solid state amp like this Fender Champ, you can do a trick where you turn the volume up to 8, you know, it goes to 10, so turn it up to 8 and then control the volume from your volume knob on your guitar. And that will be a way on the solid state amps to kind of emulate that. You can play with that to get it to where it's comfortable, but it's still, you got, you know, a little bit of impact there. It's a trick that works with tube amps as well, but solid state amps, I found it really does work very well. So that's not an issue too for me, and I like that. I like the fact that it sounds great without having to get to, you know, a lot of levels that I don't want to in this space. And I think that's where solid state amps shine, and I'm glad to finally own one because you can achieve that with that. So yeah, I'm going to be replacing that with the Jensen speaker that I have. The Jensen 12 in is the designation of that speaker. And again, Jensen is a class combo with a Fender amp. The Fender amps came with Jensen speakers. And because I'm not trying to get a heavy metal tone out of this, I want this to be my clean tones, maybe with a little bit of breakup in it for doing demos. The Laney will more than cover the territory in terms of really breaking up and really digging in. So I've got two amps that complement each other. They don't copy each other. If I want the Fender cleans, I've got that. Putting the Jensen speaker in there, I'll get a 3D. I think it's going to open that amp up. And I think I paid $30 for that. Yeah, $35 for that speaker. So not a big investment to do an upgrade, an easy upgrade. Take you about 10, 15 minutes to do it. And although I did look in the back and they put that tight lock kind of epoxy on the screws. And that stuff is a pain in the ass. I don't know if anybody out there is familiar with it. Maybe Mickey, you know about it. This epoxy they put on screws these days inside these cabinets in order to keep it from rattling loose. And when you want to do the first speaker change, it is a gigantic pain in the ass to get that stuff. Now you have to heat it up. If you heat it up, you can heat it whatever way you want to do that. Then it's a little bit easier to work with, and an X-Acto knife you can kind of cut around it, and then you can unscrew the bolt. But just be aware of that. That's what Fender put in these amps, and so I'll change that. It's going to take me about 30 minutes to do that because I gotta first heat up the epoxy, cut it out, and then take the bolts off. But after that, it's easy peasy. And so a simple change like that will open that amp up. It'll give it more headroom. It'll certainly make it, if I did want to take it out live to a small venue, it could more than cover that. It could cover that. That thing is loud. It's a 40-watt amp, so it's loud. So for a small venue, if I want to take that out, or the Laney, or both, that's not a problem. It weighs 19 pounds, so it's super light. But if you noticed, I thought ahead and I said, well, okay, Fender with a Jensen. That's a classic amp combination. If you're ever thinking about what is the best speaker to put in my new amp or whatever, or used amp, or whatever you have, if you're thinking about doing that, just as a beginning basic advice, the real basic formula to it is, you're either talking about two voicings, really, a British voicing or an American voicing. British voicing covers your Marshalls, your Voxes, your Laneys, stuff like that. Of course, the American voicings would be your Fenders. And then you think to yourself, okay, what were the speakers that were used classically in these amps? John Bond, I feel all the jazz box, Gibson ES175, etc. will flood the market as the old boys die off and young people don't want them this cheap prices. Well, John Bond, see, if you're talking about new Gibsons, not the vintage 175s, and yeah, I agree with you to a certain extent, because that's really a niche market. So yeah, there may be something there. I see what you're trying to say. An interesting thing. Have you checked out the prices of the 335s? Those Gibson 330, the new ones? Wow. But getting back to the speakers, so that's your basic formula. So Celestions would be the way to go, which is why I have a Celestion in my Laney amp, because I know they complement each other, and they did. It's the reason I'm putting my Jensen into this Fender amp, because I know that they complement each other, because I'm not trying to get heavy metal tones out of a Fender Champion 40. You could if you use the right kind of speaker and thought about that. But again, the voicings of your speaker are just as important as the voicings on your pickups. See, now, we've always talked about the pickups, and we got into strings a little bit a week or so ago. Pickups, obviously, we talk about all the time. But now we're going through that chain, and we've got tonight to the speakers. And boy, that's a rabbit hole. The reason why I say keep it simple, keep it simple, is to, keep it simple something, the KISS method, keep it simple something, I forget, the KISS method. But American Jensen, or a Weber that's mimicking a Jensen, for example. That's the direction that you'd want to go to, and it'll simplify things. And if you're thinking metal, then get on the internet, find out what they suggest for that voicing. And the voicing of your amp, because a lot of people will play this amp, and they'll say, oh, this thing sucks. Or I saw the YouTube videos of it, and it sounded terrible. One of the things about a lot of those YouTube videos I was watching that night on the Champion 40s, for some reason, a lot of guys were demoing it with the thing sitting on a coffee table. Like, my God, put it on the floor where it's meant to be, in a nice acoustic spot, and I think it'll sound a lot better. I never get guys who do these YouTube demos with the amp sitting up on a table. It's weird to me. I don't know if you guys think it's all right. I don't. But a lot of guys were demoing this amp that way. I was like, my God, you know. But a lot of guys have done demos where they put in different, because it's been out for 10 years, where they put in a different speaker. And yes, indeed, there is a markable change in this amp. Again, I don't care how you feel about it. That's just something that you're going to play around with. I am a habitual speaker swapper. I'm worse swapping speakers at one point in my life than I have been with swapping pickups. And you guys know that, here we go. I'm already swapping pickups on my new Strat. So yeah, because it's a tone thing, man. It's a tone thing, and you have to really keep that in mind. It's something that a lot of people don't talk about, is that if you go that route with a solid state or a tube amp, the speaker that you have is really going to determine your tone. And if you don't like the tone of the amp, then, you know, the first part of that chain is your speaker. Now, when you plug in the headphones to use the practice amp section of this, it bypasses the speaker, so that doesn't matter. It's your internal tones. And those are also the ones you use for recording if you so wish as well. And those aren't bad. They're usable. But when you're playing that thing out, or, you know, and again, a good value for the money, a great value, because I think if you put the right speaker in that, it's loud enough to gig within a small hall for sure. Don't let anybody fool you and tell you that Champion 40 isn't good for gigging. It is. But, asterisk, you need to put the right speaker in there. You need a speaker that has more headroom than that one that comes with it. So there's that, guys. It doesn't matter if your pickups are single coil humbuckers. Either one will either reinforce the character. The speaker will either reinforce the character of those pickups or compensate for those pickups. So there's, you know, a symbiotic relationship in that situation between your speaker and your pickups as well. So there's a lot to consider there. And it is quite a rabbit hole. And that leads to the next part of tonight's discussion, the main topic: guitar geeks are a dying breed. Because I just spent 37 minutes geeking out about a 10-year-old Fender amp that most people have kind of brushed off. But I'm saying, hey, I think you guys need to take a second look at this thing. I got it for the cost of trading 3 pedals that, and I have a replacement speaker for it, so I'm not in it anything at all other than, you know, what I paid for back in the day for that speaker, and which is, I got to dig through the box here and find it. It's box 12, so I know that it's okay. Fingers crossed. Unless a cat got into it, I don't think so. Yeah, for 3 pedals, I made that swap, and I couldn't be happier. As a matter of fact, I feel I got the good part of that bargain, because now I have a second amp. I have a second 1x12 combo that I can use to demo stuff. Like, I've got a true vintage guitar coming through here, guys. It's coming over from Japan. It's actually being shipped as we speak. A 1973 Yamaha SG65. Boy, you guys have never seen one of those before. That's coming through. So just in time with this, I'd like to play that through the Fender Champ with that Jensen speaker in it. That's a humbucker pickup guitar, by the way, and also play it through the Laney too, just to kind of demo it. So you got 2 different kind of flavors and how that's going to sound. So yeah, I just spent the last geeking out about that, geeking about these things, and that really makes me kind of a guitar nerd. Like I said, you know, I think that guitar nerds really are a dying breed. Before I get into that, guys, I see here that we have 9 people with a thumbs up and 14 people watching. Man, there is something wrong with the math there. Hit those likes, guys. Hit those likes. Keep me going here. It always does help with the YouTube algorithm if you hit that like, especially during a live stream. It shows that you're there and you're paying attention and you're liking what you see. YouTube is really starting to suck these days, guys. There's channels out there that I never saw ask for subscribers, and they are seriously pushing for subscribers because the ad rates are just gone in the toilet. I never counted on that. As you guys know, I really did this just because I like being here. First of all, you got to enjoy this in order to do this. It's especially every day, every week. Sorry, I was looking at ads. That's funny. What app were you looking at, Phil? For the last 37 minutes? That's funny. Well, at least maybe I inspired you to look at them. But you gotta love this, and I love you guys. I really do. Coming here every night is, there's nothing in it. When you support this channel by going to Bandcamp and buying the Asanoki album, you're directly supporting me, because the minute you buy it, that money immediately goes into my account. Bandcamp doesn't play. They don't play the game the next day or within that day if it's early enough, and it directly supports me. I used the money from the Bandcamp to purchase these pickups that I'm going to use to go into my Strat that I will use to demo and for the channel. Again, everything rolls back into the channel. All the money that when I say support this channel, here, if you bought Asanoki, you help directly pay for these pickups. Because that's how I wanted to. I always wanted to set this channel up where the viewers supported. I can get stuff that is interesting, show it off, use it, demo it, and move it on for something else that's interesting, and it's starting to work. I'm actually starting to get scared here. It took 5 years. But I wanted it to be a self-sustaining thing, and if you guys didn't dig it anymore, then we called it a wrap, and I say, well, thank you for it. But yeah, if you buy the album, it directly supports this channel. That's why I'm kind of taking a little mid-show break here to mention that to you, that this is it's a really direct example of that. And again, like I said, I roll everything back into the channel again. And I want to thank you for supporting and making that happen. You guys make this channel happen. That's what I always wanted to say, and I can say that now. Honestly, you guys make this channel happen, so thank you. I need to replace my Fender Supersonic. Trying to figure out what Fenders to buy next. Well, Phil, yeah. The Supersonic. Yeah, I went with, getting back to this this one, I wanted that Fender Shimmer. Not the Vox Chime, but the Fender Shimmer. And this has got it. So whatever the one it is the one that's got the tone you're looking for. I was happy with that. I bought it sight unseen, which I'm going to talk about in this next section. Guitar Nerds, about buying things sight unseen. Excuse me, I'm like moving my arm here. I actually physically carried it because I didn't have my bike. I couldn't put it on the bike. So I had to carry it from the shop back home. So my arm has been killing me. It's only 19 pounds. It wasn't that bad. I got halfway and then I took the tram and that wasn't so bad and brought it home here. But yeah, I'm feeling that one 2 days, 3 days later. Guitar Nerds. What is a guitar nerd? Guitar nerd is somebody who is really obsessive, almost to a fault, about gear. Obsessing over gear. Now this is not to say, don't confuse this with a collector. That's a different thing. Mine is a 60, okay, but it has a buzz, and from what I understand, it's a very common issue. Love it otherwise. Yeah, it's funny. Everybody said that the Fender Champion 40s had a bad 60 cycle hum to it, but it's not as quiet as my Laney, which when it's on and I don't have anything plugged into it, it's just all warming up. I have to sometimes look at the red diode to see if it's on. The Fender Champion 40 that I got, again, is it a Monday amp? It's the same. It's like guitar necks, guys. I told you, amps are just like necks. It's just like everything else. There's Monday amps and there's Friday amps. The Monday amp is the guy came in Monday's ready for work. He's sitting there, hey, I'm gonna do this week, and he's working on it, and he puts together a nice one. The Friday amp is he's sitting there looking at the clock, man, I got a date tonight with such and such, and and it's gonna be what it's gonna be. I think I got a Monday amp because this one is quiet. All the hum and the noises and turning it off, it pops out. I've got none of that. As a matter of fact, mechanically, I cannot find an issue with the one that I got. Yeah, dig that. I got myself a Monday amp. So, it's guitar necks. A guy sitting there with a machine and he's working that neck, and that's why there's so much variance. Monday amp I like, but true. As a collector, especially with expensive vintage gear, you have to be a nerd so you don't get burned. Les Paul Classics from 90 to 03 have a true ABR1 bridge with, yes, John Bonnet is correct. If you look back in my catalog, you will see that I owned a Les Paul from 1993. The first run of Les Paul Classics with a true ABR bridge in it. I covered that quite extensively. The one thing that I didn't like about that guitar, it had the thinnest neck. I've said this before. It had the thinnest neck. This wasn't a 60s fast neck. This is like a burger joint toothpick neck. Fast. It's so fast. Your hand would slide off of it. So I got rid of it, and it got a good penny for it. It's one of the ones that I sold when I first came here during the pandemic when the prices went up. But I didn't take to it. But yes, indeed, yes. And you do have, and I had to be a collector. I had to be a nerd. See, that's a collector again. Collectors collect because they collect. Whether they know about it or not, collectors just have to have it. I've noticed that about collectors. Yes, it would be good as a collector, and you should be knowledgeable about what you're collecting, but collectors are going to collect. I was talking just last week about Joe Bonamassa. And I was saying he's a collector. Collectors can't be players, and but he's an exception, but not really, because he knows in his mind that his collection has a dollar value on it. I saw an interview just this week with him where he mentioned that very same thing. He said, "Hey, you guys all, do I need 500 guitars?" And I'm quoting him. He said, "Do I need? No, I don't need them. But if you ever ask a guy like me, why do you need so many guitars, then you don't understand a collector." And if you say to me, going on, he said, if you say to me, well, then you could just give me one. He says, no. I paid real money for these guitars, and so will you. Again, emphasizing what I was saying. So the collector thing, again, even in his mind, a collector is a different thing. And he's right. Collectors are going to collect. It's a pack rack. It's almost, in some people's cases, I think it's a sickness. I know guys who every week they have to have that next guitar. There are channels on YouTube where they have to have that next thing, and they're like, "Oh, I've got a problem, I've got a sickness, and they do." But again, that's a collector thing, and that's a vibe that either you're with or not. A nerd doesn't necessarily have to be a collector. See, a nerd doesn't care about the price of a guitar. He'll play a $225 guitar if he thinks it's cool, or if it's got a good, again, like those Diamond guitar, that Diamond M175 that I had. It's not a very expensive guitar at all, but it is. They didn't make a lot of them. That Sparkle, Champagne Sparkle one that I had a few months ago. It's not a very expensive guitar, but it's cool. Whereas Now I'm getting in this week a 1973 SG65, which is a much more pricier guitar, but it's cool. See, that's the nerd in me. That's the nerdism. That's a little bit, the collectors are collecting because they see an intrinsic value in it. A nerd is a nerd just because, hey, they only made 25 of these. I got to play one. Or, something along those lines. And so that's why I say a nerd, can be like a collector. A collector can have nerd-like tendencies, but nerds are very rarely collectors. They're in it for the experience of saying, hey, I touched it, or I saw it, or I know about it, or I can, I have a knowledge about it. And so that kind of makes you a nerd. And or you like me, 12:30 at night, hadn't even thought about a Fender Champ. I knew about it, but I never even considered. 12:30 at night, I say, hey, this guy I'm seeing tomorrow's got one. Let me look a little bit into that. And an hour later, I'm sitting there saying, well, okay, I don't need that anymore if I do this. This replaces that. I can take these and, and that's the nerd in me. I'm doing that, before I go to bed. And researching things, looking at videos, and making the decision, is this the thing that I've been looking for? And it was. And that's the nerd part of me. And you have to, and that's why I always stress to you, do your research first. YouTube is helpful. The guys with it sitting up on their countertops, not helpful. But what it's helpful for is to give you a general consensus on things. You have to make your own decision. You're going to have to make your own choices and see if it fits. And there's going to be failures. There's going to be some that work and some that don't. But the more research that you do, and the more understanding you have and know its practical applications and what you want to use it for, the best chance you have at getting something good out of the box is when you follow that approach. And that's just the bottom line. I know you hate it in school. What was that, crib notes? Can't do the crib notes. So I encourage you all to be nerds. I want you all to become guitarists. I'm sure you're sitting here listening to me at this time of night. You probably pretty much already are. Because this is a channel for that kind of talk. And so that's what I'm saying. So those are separate groups. However, what do I mean by guitar geeks or nerds being a dying breed? You can tie that statement in. You guys can argue this with me, whether you agree or not. But you can tie that statement in with a couple of things that have happened in the last 15 to 20 years. Matty Two Hat says, we're definitely all gear nerds here for sure. Yeah, for sure. We're, like I said, we're a support group. Sometimes we share our stories. Sometimes we talk a member off the ledge when they're going to do something like, don't do it. Sometimes we support, we're a support group here of nerds and people of like minds and even people who may not. We had some people here last week that was asking about a TV show Supernatural, which, by the way, I afterwards, that was out of left field. I'm talking about something over here, and then this comes up, so it threw me off. But yeah, I know that show. So if you're here tonight, I got an answer for you on that one. Some is not always. I know a couple of very rich collectors that really don't know much, but rely on reputable deals. Yeah, and sources certify their cards, kind of like Archer. Exactly. When you got that kind of money, and you're talking about that kind of things. You're out there being a lawyer, a doctor. You're knee deep in somebody's appendix. You're not sitting there thinking, boy, are the are the tuning pegs on that the right color for that year? You're not thinking that, or at least God, I hope you're not. You got somebody else you're paying to do that. and you may get ripped off. I told you, I went to a shop in LA when I bought the same shop that I bought that 93 Classic from. They had a fake Les Paul Gibson on the wall. I knew it was, he knew it was. He was still selling it, and he would pass that on to somebody else. Trust me, it already happened, because that was years ago. The guitars are art. They are hot rods we can work on and tweak. They are tools we can make music with. They are history. They are investments. They are all of those things, John Mon. Yes, indeed. I agree with that 100%. And so, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I present to you next that the death of the mom and pop store is leading to the death of the guitar geek. What do I mean by that? When I was growing up, man, that was a rite of passage as a musician, as a kid, is to go to a local guitar store and jam out on something, or get into a guitar store jam, or meet an older guy, hippie guy there, you know, who was passing sage advice to you that you were like, oh, get out of here, old people, I don't want to hear that. But, you know, years later you realize that he was telling you something that turned out to be the truth. You got to handle the guitar in your hand. The minute you held it, you didn't walk in there, you didn't know that that was the one, but you sat down and you picked it up and you were holding, you're playing, holy crap, I love the neck on it, I love the way it sounds, and you walk out with it. Or you go in thinking, hey, that's the new hottest crap guitar, and you sit down and you play 3 or 4 of them and you realize you don't like any of them. That's an experience. Rich collectors don't get the deals. They pay the middleman. Yeah, they got a 20% or more premium on that. I'm a middleman. That's one of the things that I do as a job. For this guitar that's coming in, the Yamaha, it's not for me. It's for one of my clients. He's allowing me to demo it on my channel, but I am the middleman. He has hired me to get that guitar from Japan, find it first. I had to source it. I had to find it in a condition that I thought, eyeballing it without touching it, that I thought was good and acceptable. So yes, I am the middleman. I should, if I had a mustache, I would twirl it. That is correct. That's what that's about. But the mom and pop stores and that experience growing up, even something like the old guitar centers, is something that was a rite of passage. And with the advent of the superstore, here in Europe, the superstores, Home On, Box, you name it, that mom and pop store experience really got eradicated because they could not afford to have the kind of deals that the big box stores could have on gear. And so that went away. Kim Thale said he would never play it in guitar stores. He was intimidated by other players. Fast forward 40 years and he doesn't know what his pedals are called, but he forged a massive career. Yeah, I can dig that. But dig that intimidation factor, that's on him on a personal level. Whether he regrets that or not, despite his success, comes down to him. But that'll show you that was a scene. Whether it was a scene for him or not, that part of that, the point of that story, Maddie, is that there was a scene there, and that scene is gone. There is no more scene that he could have even felt intimidated by anymore if he was growing up today. And you know, it's because these big box stores really have geared themselves more towards a focal point of sales and not service. See, the mom and pop stores, really their business model was about service, because they would not only sell you the guitar or amp, but if there was a problem, you could bring it back in. They can make a little bit of money fixing it for you if it was out of warranty, or the warranty paid them to do it from the manufacturer. But there was a revolving door business there where you had, and you knew that customer as well. And that's gone. That's service equipment. Because if you buy a guitar now from Tolman and you say, hey, there's something wrong with this, you're not walking or driving 20 minutes down to your local shop now. Now you got to box it back up and send it to, Timbuktu, Germany, in my case. And really, that service aspect, that getting to know you kind of thing, and I experienced it in Singapore because they don't have big box music stores in Singapore. They don't. If you look at my Singapore videos when I was there, you would go with me down to the B1 level of a hotel, and that's where all the music shops were. That was their music scene, down in the basement level of this hotel, little shops. And the service there was, I knew the guys that I took, they knew my guitar, they knew when I bought it, they were the ones who worked on it, they knew what I liked, they knew how I was set up, they knew all those things, the kind of same service I'm getting now with Fern. Fern knows me now. I don't have to, he knows the strings that I like, he knows the heights that I like, he knows where I like my pickups, and even without me telling him, he observed that. He said, hey dude, I noticed that you moved the pickups from when I set it up, you've got it like this, and and I said, yeah. He says, well, okay, I'll do it like that from now on. Boom. You don't get that service out of Tolman. They're not going to do it. They're going to say, hey, it's broken, send it back to us. We'll send you another one that may have different problems or may not. There may be the neck. Well, I don't like the neck because you got a Friday neck. That other one, it had a Tuesday, it had a Friday bridge, but it had a Monday neck. So you see, that experience is gone too. Again, it was a model change from service to sales. And that's why that's why those big shops, when you go in them, they're not someplace that as a teenager I want to go into. They're bright. That shop that I bought this Fender Champion 40 from, that's the classic, that's the type of store shit just piled up everywhere. Dimly lit, moody as hell, and you didn't feel bad about, well, let me just take this and look at this. It wasn't like, please sir, may I please take a look at that? Could you take it off? First, can you unlock it and then go get the ladder and then bring it down? You don't have to do any of that. And Wednesday pickups, it had a Friday bridge, a Monday neck, and Wednesday pickups. Dig that. I've had that guitar. I've had it. And so, yeah, buying online is not good because, again, now I know that it's not always available in a lot of people's cases to do anything but go online for things. This week, I'm waiting for it to come in the mail. That's why I haven't put out a regular content this week. Well, the other one I put on Monday, so I'm letting it ride for views. So the next one will be this Monday, tomorrow, or Tuesday when it comes in. But as you know, I'm doing that rebuild on that Squire Affinity. That I swapped the necks from the 2001 so that I could put it on my Partcaster, and I found a 2003 neck for that one. I still, have another body that needs a neck, but that's another story. But this one they had stripped off the trees and they had stripped off the tuners. And I wanted to rebuild it, put that neck back together again, but I wanted to do it inexpensively, and I found about Temu. So the Temu is a Chinese kind of free-for-all website where you can find just about everything under the sun, and I ordered a set of tuners from Temu. So we are going to see, this is my first time ordering something from them. The reviews on these tuners are that they're good quality. They are as displayed as shown in the picture. And so this is a case where I had to order. So, but it's not the whole freaking guitar. But anyway, we'll see how good these are. So that'll be next week's show, by the way. Just a little plug for that is the tuners from Temu and how good they are. and will they work with this Squire neck. So stay tuned for that. But for small things like that, yeah, you can go for that. You can buy those parts and things like that, okay, because that's, again, even if it's not right, you can ship it back. That's not packing a whole friggin' guitar up and taking that down to the post office and dealing with that headache. It's a different thing altogether. Um, and so, with this focus, this bright atmosphere, this focus on adults, especially of a certain age group that really, and the so-called, my personal assistant or whatever I don't know what it's called because I'm not familiar with Sweetwater enough, but they have their Sweetwater agents or, I got my guy at Sweetwater, I often hear people say, and he says blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm sure that there's some of those guys are great, but at the end of the day, they're there to sell you things. Again, they'll help you with service things as it comes up, but their main focus there is to sell you something. And if not, then I don't know what the hell they're doing. So that's not really a great replacement. It's, again, that's not a great replacement for Uncle Bob down at the mom and pop guitar shop. It's not the same thing. And also, boy, I can't have one of these conversations without touching upon it. It also ties in to the overproduction of guitars as well. Because when you change your model from service, which is taking a guitar that was reasonably manufactured within a reasonable limit, let's not talk about the Epiphone guitars, especially their limited edition ones, that guitar will go out, person would play it, and when it needed servicing, they'd bring it in a shop. And again, like I said, there was this revolving door. Whereas now with a sales goal and this ever-ramping need to sell more and more and more, it's in a way devaluing a lot of guitars and making them landfill. We've seen that. They certainly see it that way themselves. We talked about that. But it's led to that one tractor trailer of wood per shift situation that I was talking about, in Indonesia. That's happening every day. Because you shifted from that service where I'm taking this guitar that's already been reasonably produced and sold and marketed, and everybody's happy, it's not off the charts, and I can take it in, service it, play it, take it in, service it, as opposed to, hey, I got such and such guitar, why don't you trade that in for us and we're going to sell you the new X, Y, and Z guitar. See, that's a different mentality as well. And it led to this it's one of the reasons for the overproduction, again, when you shift from a service model to a sales-oriented model. So, how does this tie into Guitar Geeks or a dying breed? Well, my generation, okay, let me put it to you this way, in a more grounded way. In Japan, a country that I know very well, that I do business with every day, their population is aging out. They have more old people than they have babies being born. In other words, in another 100 years, the Japanese as an ethnic society will no longer exist if this continues. This attrition is because there is no new there's not enough new Japanese being born in order to replace the ones that are aging out. And that is the same analogy that I will use with Guitar Geeks. See, if you didn't grow up in a situation where you nerded out and you went and you geeked out on things at the shop and things like that, my supposition to you is that that's a dying breed. That's going to the super shops. Sure, on a small scale, you always have, I'm saying that subset is getting smaller and smaller and smaller until eventually, because of other things that are becoming 20, 30 years from now, and 100 years from now, everybody will be that guy. Hey, I need a guitar, make it blue, send it over. I just fear that that's what's going to happen, or people will be too lazy to do research, or that intrinsic geekdom that flame will get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer because we don't have those things that created that flame, that spark since hell, the first music store opened up, for the modern age after the Second World War. Maybe something will come along. I don't know. So that's what I'm saying. Guitar geeks are a dying breed because they're aging out, too. And a lot of young people, again, they're not going to sit there and talk about a Jensen speaker as opposed to a Celestion being of a different voicing for your amp, because they're just going to say, what the hell, I can get, a modeler, and why do I need to know that? That's irrelevant to me. Rolex watches are more in demand now than ever. Who needs a watch anymore? But here we are. Yeah, actually, no. Premium sales, Louis Vuitton, all the LVH group, their sales are down. Rolexes are doing okay. You are right about that. But again, that's a subset of people who are buying. We're getting back again to your collectors who really prop up that market. And those are the guys who are privately buying and trading and swapping, then creating and making that market go. There's not enough of that really in the guitar market even to rise to that level. Joe Bonamassa, he's not having a garage sale anytime soon. No, guys, I appreciate the counter arguments, but again, it all points back to one direction. Yeah, I know, it's funny. It all points back to that. And so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Doggone it. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in there, guys. There's a lot to unpack. I am not convinced at all that this switching of model from service to sales has been beneficial to the musician community. I really don't. There's a lot of negative there. Yeah, convenience is always the thing that everybody points to as being one of the positives, but the conveyor belt, at the slaughterhouse, is convenient too. That's bad. I shouldn't say that. Convenience is not always a good thing. It's not always a positive step forward that people would make it seem to be, because convenience also can mean a lack of choices. So there's that. So lots to unpack there. A lot of things to think about. I myself am, again, like I said, I'm taking this pedal board and I'm ringing it to play, along with that new Fender Champ. So this will change its role. Because I'm changing roles, I don't see myself doing a lot of recording these days anymore, and so my shift of focus is going towards production and also just something that's more useful. So I couldn't be more pleased, and if I do want to use it for recording, it would more than cover that. So I'm whether I want to do a direct through its line out, or if I want to mic it. It's just a more convenient article than those three pedals, than the pedal board as it was. It's in my opinion, it's a step up for a lateral trade, and that's always good. So I couldn't be more pleased about that. I will do a shoot when I do get the time. When I do get the time, I will do a shootout between that Alnico Fender and that Laney with that Celestion. Not so much to see which one is better, but just to talk about what I touched upon earlier about matching the right speaker to the right amp. So that'll be coming up after the Temu one, I think. And then, of course, I've got that vintage guitar coming in, so maybe that might be a good. I could kill two birds with one stone and do that. Play it through both of those amps. But yeah, I'm covered now. I got two 1x12s, and I'm happy. Both of them cover different territory. I'm putting that ginseng in that fender because I want more of the highs out of it. And I think that will work. We shall see. I am exhausted, guys. This is my normal. This is, like I said, this is we're getting into late time for me because of the time change. So I'm going to call it quits here. I do appreciate all 14 of you showing me 15 likes. Well, that's a first. Oh, now we got 15 and 15. Boy, I should take a screenshot of this. 15 likes and 15 people watching. It's a Halloween miracle. You know, it's funny. I thought I was going to do a Halloween show tonight. I've done that before in the past where I've told you guys some of my on-the-road ghost stories and some of the really weird crap that I've seen and experienced in my travels around the world. But I didn't want to go that direction tonight with it, you know. So there was too much to unpack with the coming in of that new amp, and the time just got by me. So I do hope that you have a safe trick-or-treat this year. Don't go too heavy on the Mars bars. And be safe out there. Don't party too hard. Don't drink drive. Don't do anything that our mascot Moose wouldn't do. I gotta bring Moose and put him here when I do the live stream. He needs our channel mascot. He needs to be here. And just have yourselves a good week. We got a lot of content, man. Like I said, I just named 3 shows. I've got to do the Temu unpackaging with those tuners. I've got the 73 vintage coming through. I need to talk about this Fender Champion amp. There's a lot in the Laney and some of the differences I noticed between a tube amp and a solid. That's a thing in itself. So, gosh, look at that. That's content for the next month. As a matter of fact, I think I just listed the content that you're going to be watching for the next month. And again, that wouldn't have been possible. And then, you know, putting in these new pickups and these, seeing how this is different in that parts guitar versus the current, a lot of stuff, again, made possible because of you guys. You put the stuff in, and I am more than happy to put it together for our mutual enjoyment. And I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch tonight. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, don't forget to do that. If you like what you saw tonight, hit that like button. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in and for supporting this channel. If you haven't bought the album, guys, please buy a copy of that. Not just for the financial support that it gives to the channel, it really gives me quite a personal pleasure to stick it to Spotify. Because, you know, I've earned more on that album than I've gotten off of the last friggin' 5 that I put on Spotify. So, you know, I don't use harsh language, but F those guys, you know, on Spotify. F Spotify. And it just makes me happy. And it also makes me happy, somebody just bought a single from me. They just bought Funky Good Time, I get, because they like that album. That makes me happy that somebody out there is rocking that tune. And that brings joy to me too. So a lot of good things that come from doing this channel. That's why I do it. That's a lot of, you know, you guys know I've had some personal health issues. I've had the passing of old friends. I've had a lot of hard things that I've gone through, just everyday life, just like you. But all of us coming here together every week like this, and the channel in itself really is a bright spot in my life, and I want to thank you guys for making that happen. So support this channel. Buy that album if you haven't. Hit the like if you hadn't. Subscribe if you hadn't done so yet. And we will do this again next Sunday night. I will, once I get used to this time change, I'll hang a little longer. But I'm actually going to go hit the hay right now. So you guys have a good one yourselves, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening where you're at. Be safe out there, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.